They're talking,
This broadcast is live.
Live. There you go. Hey there, welcome to, I guess this may or may not be episode number, I don't know, 1, could be number 11, who knows. Anyways, we're back at it. We're going to be doing it a lot more regularly. Backers Live, Justin Fox, Alan Wozni. We're going to be bringing on guests. We're going to be doing all kinds
We're
of
in your house. We're not actually in the house, though. We're in our each houses. So how could, when they say that expression, we're in the house, do they mean, which house do they mean?
I think they're in the building is sort of the reference, but maybe if you're at a concert, but also could be in your house, right? If you're coming through the TV.
We are in the Backers house. We are here in Backers. We're in the backyard. Backers yard.
Backers in your Backers yard. Exactly. That's a little creepy, but anyways, we are here, Backers Live, Justin Fox, Alan Wozni. So today we're going to talk a little bit about obviously Backers, the funding portal is live. We've got a couple offerings, Bozzetto, Streakers, our own offering. So if you're so inclined, you want to invest in an early stage startup with some high growth potential, there's 3 opportunities for you there to take a look at. Go to backers.ca or go to portal.backers.ca if you want to go directly into the funding portal to check that out. But first, let's talk, Alan. You are always super pumped about one of our featured offerings right now, featured deals, and that is Bozzetto with their reactive suite. Why don't you take it away? Tell us a little bit about what Bozzetto is, what they do. We've had Av on here. We're going to talk with Av, I think, in the next day or so, talking a little bit about Bozzetto. They've won a few pitch competitions and been doing quite well in the marketplace. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on Bozzetto and the reactive suite.
Well, I posted this yesterday, and just literally, Av had me at hello. And the movie with Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello, right? And since I first saw his presentation, the reactive suite, it's for if you're doing presentations. Now, it doesn't have to be just a pitch deck. It can be sales, it can be meetings. But you and I are sitting here chatting in a pretty good format, the live, the StreamYard live feed. But most people, when they present, they present their they present their slides, but they're not presenting.
Yeah.
And so yesterday I kind of commented, I said, Av had me at hello. And that was back in September when I first saw the Bozzetto suite. And, he kind of had this sleepy eye. Like most people go to presentations and they fall asleep. And that's it. Like Av with the reactive suite, they capture your attention while they're presenting. So, and Av says this many times, 90% of the presentations are the individual presenting, and the 10% is the content, or whatever that ratio is. So for me, I spent many years, I probably 4 or 5 years as a Toastmasters. You're familiar with Toastmasters?
Yeah, sort of.
And they've got
sorry? Speeches. I'm sort of vaguely familiar with it. Yes.
So the Toastmasters has you've got to go through a series of formal presentations, and with aids, without aids, and that was in the days when you didn't have remote presentation, you didn't have internet or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So Av's taken his experience dealing with touch sensories and kind of that, bringing that experience to the touch screen and the presentation and that mixed reality where you really feel you're really engaged. He engages you, and so and to me that's important because I've spent a lot of time on pitch presentations, not myself, but watching and attending remote pitch presentations. 99% of the people are in the bottom of the screen and they're trying to go through their slides. And I did that in grade, university. You went to university in Canada. I went to Canada. You know what I mean? Like those techniques haven't changed for decades. So Av and his team at Bozzetto have really got something really different than what's on the market today.
Well, I think it's cool. And it's, having been in, kind of on this side of the camera for a number of years now and played around with different production type products, right? Where you can push, using, talking about, like Wirecast or using OBS, and you're sort of pushing with these like kind of super complicated, but arguably a desktop version of what they might use in a, in a newsroom or in a, a sportscast type of environment. And now it's on your laptop. Now, what Bozzetto, I think, has been able to do is they've been able to take that concept of like highly, kind of manipulative in the sense where you can move things around, you can shape where you are, the size of your video,
like a studio level, media production
kind of, out of the box that, maybe would cost thousands of dollars on your laptop if you could get it, something like that. I mentioned Wirecast. There's
with cameras and sensors
all over the place. Exactly. Yeah. Stitcher. Yeah. And now it's literally, he's been able to put that into, is that you saying hello? I thought somebody just sent us a chat, but no, he's now been able to put that into a pretty robust, easy to use application where you can literally take a presentation with your deck, with video, with content, and kind of make it very interactive and very much focused. And I think one of the key mentions that, or key sort of things that he mentions, is the fact that they're not there to see your deck. I mean, you can send them your deck and they can go through it on their email, right? Or on their own time. They're there to see the presenter and see how the presenter presents, and to see, to get that flavor from the presenter. So it's cool to see that. So if you're interested, Vizetto is live. They've got their offering live. They've raised some money. They just won 2 different pitch contests, one at the Ace Dow about a week ago, and I think about maybe a month ago at the New Chip presentation or pitch competition, was it?
That's right. So when you mentioned the PDF, like people do they'd send their pitch deck, say, look at my pitch deck and presentation. Even that, and you and I had a discussion with Robert out of Tampa Bay, and he showed us he was kind of walking through his presentation. I said, Robert, it's the same old presentation that the investors are going to get, the pitch deck.
100 times over.
So what he did was he took Vizetto app and he created his pitch presentation with video and PowerPoint combined, changed it dramatically. It showed what he's created, took some of his actual video products, 3 metaverse type stuff, and he brought it to life, as opposed to the slides you just flip through. Yeah, okay, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, that's the feeling I got. Next day, it was 10 times better, 100%, whatever it is, the ratio you can put on it. So for me, it's not just the presentation. It's if you want to create a video and send it to people to tell your story, it does a lot. I mean, you are going to play with it a bit, and you'll get your own comfort with it. And we'll do a future where we can show your learnings on that. But what else? What else do we have? We also have Streakers on there. Streakers Gaming
Inc. Yeah, and I mean, it's exciting what Craig's been able to do over the past few months, even from when they first launched on the portal, or when we first kind of talked to them, I guess back in the end of the summer, early fall. What they've been able to do with their gaming app. I think they're at a few hundred users at this point, and kind of growing. And it's a new way of looking at. It's a new spin on the tried and true sports betting environment, right? In that environment.
And I've said this before. What I like, the 2 things I really like about the Streakers Gaming is, one, he's built it himself. Like it's not like he's got an idea and he did it. He built it. He's bootstrapped it. He's got a developer, coder, his co-founders. The other thing I really like is the familiarity with what's already out there, like the other sports betting apps. And maybe the third thing I like is the inclusivity of not only traditional sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, football, but also the non-traditional esports.
Non-traditional and esports, yeah, exactly.
And there was something that caught my eye this morning, which I'm just going to go to the app because it was there's XFL. I didn't know XFL was still playing. So, arena football, is it still going on?
Well, it's XFL, yeah. I think he sold it. Dwayne The Rock Johnson bought it from the Vince McMahon from the WWE.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I think that's probably about a year ago. Yeah, so they relaunched it. This might be the second season of it, actually. I think they may or may not have relaunched it right around sort of COVID or just after. So it might have been impacted. But I think, this is sort of maybe the second season of it. I'm not up. If anyone out there is watching, comment, let us know. Let those watching know. But yeah, it's cool. And I think the cool thing about that too is, and this was, the differentiator, and obviously the name Streakers, we kind of talked about a couple things. One is the concept exactly of going on a streak, right? So it's more about how many wins can you get in a row rather than can you just win that one game. And the cool thing is, and how you tabulate that is, it's actually more of a head-to-head or in smaller groups, which they call booths, the sports booth, where you've got 8 or 10 friends picking a selection of games, a suite of games or slate of games, whatever you want to call it, and then they're allowing you to basically challenge your friends to see who can make the longest streak or get the longest streak of correct wins or correct picks and then who can actually beat or win in the group of friends with the correct picks as well. So kind of an interesting model there.
He's also added in some features as he's come along the last few months. There's the messaging, you can message people, and it's taken on a whole new look where, you know, it's not just, as you said, you can create sports booths, but it's I like it. It's fun, and I've never met his brother, and we've had this discussion in BriPup, you know, the challenges with his brother. You get on from time to time. I try to bring some friends in. I think the more people that use it, it can actually be more engaging. It can be like your fantasy football, your fantasy hockey. You can be, let's do that. You know, I mean, you can get groups of people at work or from your baseball team or whatever, a soccer team, hockey team, whatever.
Exactly. And then obviously our own raise. If you're so inclined, you want to invest in a early stage startup that basically works with early stage startups and helps founders through the process. I mean, Backers is the Backers Network consists of the funding portal, which is run by Backers Securities Inc., a registered funding portal with the Ontario Securities Commission and the BC Securities Commission. As well, we work with founders in more of a support services role, where we essentially help them, kind of like a business in a box, maybe an accelerator type concept, where we basically help them, you know, build out their technology, whether it's their website, their app, whatever that is, you know, the software, whatever they're building out. You know, we have some in-house talent. We can also bring in some third-party talent to help out with that. We can do marketing, legal, accounting. I mean, as an accountant yourself, you know, we're already working with a few clients, helping them sort of put together financial statements and things of that nature, shred claims. We've done it ourselves. We've got some third party.
But let's speak to that. Let's help with that. Let's drill down on that, because for me, and I'm pretty sure that for you, when you do some web services for companies, and it forces you to research, it forces you find things out. And I'll just tell you and I'll let you share what you want to share. But for me, over the last few days, working with some of our clients on the bookkeeping, just core bookkeeping, accounting, QuickBooks stuff, I got exposed to some pretty cool apps, tech tools that some of our clients are using, and I'm like, whoa! It opens my eyes, but it's like, because you look at invoices, right? As an accountant, I'm usually, in the past, I was curious, as my background was always oil and gas, and now that I've been focused the last 4 or 5 years on tech companies, the tech landscape is opening up. But when you go meta, and that goes real deep into their books, you see what they're doing. So for me, I just sent a list of, in confidentiality, not the client, but the list of these. Wow, I think Doodly. I don't know if you heard of Doodly, right? You can do animated things. So I got a list. I'll share with you, Justin. But it's so much fun to me to work with the clients, because you see so much more than just what they're doing.
Well, this is it. I mean, and this is what I think the Backers, maybe it's a hands-on approach that we're bringing to the table here. It's really the ability for us, you know, myself as a multi-time founder, some more successful than
multi-billionaire now, right? Multi-billion.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on my second billion, but I gave up on my first.
It's the multi-million downloads that you had.
But no, it's cool. It's great to be able to not only like provide the funding portal where, you know, that's kind of the conduit to, you know, access to capital, and also an interesting opportunity for the majority of the population that's never been able to invest in early stage companies to now be able to invest in these companies. That's right. Which, you know, so we're kind of bridging that gap that's it never existed, because it was never allowed to be bridged, if you will. But also we get in behind these companies, and we're working with them very much hands-on, like we said, building out their tech, building out their, you know, their marketing campaigns, all those different things, getting the word out, spreading the message. Also working with them. I mean, you're working with, as you said, you know, on the right into the nitty gritty of the financials and building out financial statements and helping out with things like shred claims and whatnot. And
for the benefit of the two listeners, people watching, Shred is a scientific research and what's the
experimental development.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So anyways, but, you know, so there's some things there, as well as legal. You know, we're looking at building out an accelerator program, sort of incubator accelerator. I've talked to a couple of our advisors. They're ready to jump in, roll up their sleeves as well, and sort of help out these entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur and you are looking to start your business or launch your business, and you need some support, and you'd like some wily old veterans like myself with some grizzled beards and, you know, some gray hairs, I don't know, a few of them. I'm not going to speak for you, Alan, just for myself, but
No, but I think
we're your team. We're your team.
It does speak like it does to be able to pick up the books for me to be able to go and through, the years of experience. I look at it from a different lens, and I'd say from the accounting side, or preparing a pitch deck, or preparing a cash flow forecast. It's not, the years of experience do come to play. So it's not the gray matter, the gray hair. It's not a boring, dull pitch deck. We can think of it differently, more linearly or less linearly.
Well, there's a lot of things. Exactly. I mean, just even, you're talking about pitch decks and pitch videos and things like that. I mean, we can help out in a lot of different areas where we can lend some expertise, maybe a little more hands-on than maybe you get from, an accelerator that just does maybe educational, or, a VC that maybe will give you the funding, but isn't going to really jump in there and be kind of your partner. How about not business in a box, not first mile of funding, but partner in a box, right? I think we become your trusted partner. And that's kind of what we're doing.
It's like first mile. Right? It's like the first few inches, right? Like a lot of startups, it is really the first few inches, right? The baby steps. A lot of startups don't know what they don't know. And I'll speak to some of the tech stack out there. It's daunting. It is literally daunting, and it keeps.
Where to start? Yeah.
Like I looked at the other day, there was this, the next wave is cloud management, managing your cloud with multiple cloud management versus, one. It's because companies spend millions, or if not billions, on just tech, right? The services that manage those 7 or 8 types of things. So it's incredible, the landscape, and there's no one person can do it all. There's no one person. Cybersecurity. I learned this 4 or 5 years ago. Cybersecurity companies. There's so many push and pulls, internal, external threats, and where's the weakest point of, one company cannot do it all.
Yeah.
Same with social media. You can't. The conversation I had this morning. Hiring a social media manager who does it all, it just doesn't exist, right? So finding that, yours and our combined experience is wonderful, but we also find
our team, right? The ability for us to bring in our team,
bring in people.
As we grow our team, we're going to be able to expand on the services that we're able to offer, expand on the, to scale up the number of people that we're able to help. Obviously, we've got a number of people on our plate right now, but there's still a lot of room to grow there. And as we grow and expand, we've got some third-party partnerships that are cool. We'll probably be announcing, in the near future as well, where we're working on some interesting deals. I was about to tell you, actually, just before we jumped on this, before our previous call, some interesting things around the tokenization of specific assets, and kind of how we're also branching out and not only taking the tokenization of assets within the backers environment, but looking at other assets outside of just very narrow kind of equity based security tokens. But so there's a lot that's happening in the background of backers, in the backers ground,
in the backers yard,
in the backyard, in the backers ground, exactly. And I mean, I'm growing my West Coast beer. I don't know what you're are you your Calgary Stampede?
Well, anybody, if you're going to grow a mustache or beard, everyone's always going to compare you to Lanny McDonald. So, I know
Lanny McDonald. I don't know if I'm going for the big duster like the McDonald.
But yeah, if you shaved everything else off and let it grow, then you'd probably the handlebar. Because you got to, it's different in the West. Out in the West, you're in the real West, but here in Alberta,
the Rockies.
So the startup community, to me, just last week or the week before, they had at the end of January, demo days. They do this every quarter, I think. The demo day, the New Chips Accelerator. I looked at so many. There's so many companies on there that are trying to fight for this funding, and they pay money to go into that, which is fine. Because Av's come out of there, I think that some other companies I've seen a lot of quality come out of there, but that just tells me that the landscape globally, people are just fighting to get people's attention, to get the attention of investors. I don't know what you thought, but I think that's one of the reasons you started Backers is because of that. How difficult.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's we talk about the first mile of funding. I mean, it's extremely difficult. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, yeah, look at this unicorn, look at this." So I'm doing Series A, Series B. I'm whatever. I'm doing my IPO, but no one talks about the first that first year, right? That first getting your first 100 grand, getting your first couple of customers, getting, some traction. That's the hardest part. And a lot of people, if you go to, I was at an event last week here in Vancouver. Is a couple of VCs talking about just sort of the VC landscape. Obviously the world has changed, seemingly money has kind of tightened a little bit. People have, been a little more conservative in their investments. I mean, one of the things that came out there that was very surprising was they basically said, if you're in your Series A or B, you're not going to get funded, right? Or whatever like that. Like it's basically that entire late stage private equity investment marketplace has completely dried up. I think they talked about IPOs in Canada. I don't know. There was like 2 or 3 in the past year. Whereas there were typically, and this is Canadian market, typically 50 or 60, right? So the significantly like that top end of sort of your exit side has completely dried up. Now, where they're still seeing some money flowing is in the early stage. We're talking sort of seed, maybe a bit of pre-seed, but seed funding, kind of Series A. And in that side of things, they're very much, the valuations have come significantly lower. So they're not just handing out at these, exorbitant valuations, handing out money, but they're really tightening the reins a little bit. And so, their due diligence is going up. So not to mention, even before, they would only probably invest in 1 in 100, maybe 1 in a few hundred that they would even come across. So those other 99 or those other 399 that were basically rejected, they need funding, right? They need to get funding somewhere. And so that was really, that was the inception of Backers, was that, I was looking at a business that I had and looking at funding models that would work. And obviously having a community support your business and also be invested is kind of that loyalty factor. Yeah. But even now, even more so, where the VC and angel investor space has not necessarily dried up, but is significantly altered.
It impacts. To your point earlier, you mentioned the IPO. So then the Series D, as they go down the pipe, those also dry up the funding. So the lower you go, less money becomes available. Right. And
so that now that, they're very much, they're looking for quality founders. This is an opportunity too, where, businesses that come out of recessions and come out of downturns and down times are often, and those that are able to survive through that are often the ones that will thrive longer term. So now's a great time. If you're starting a business, reach out to us. Obviously we're here to help. We've got a lot of, internally, some experience, as well as some of our advisors, and externally, some support that we can bring to the table. And that's, I think, where the funding is key. Getting out there, being able to get your message to the right people.
That's right. Right.
And letting them, we talk about upselling with equity. Let them buy your product or follow you along your journey, and then say to them, hey, by the way, you like what we're doing over here, why don't you invest in our business? So that's kind of the model of Backers. We're here to be that message in a bottle. No, that business in a box, right? Where we are going to build up your business.
There's one thing I wanted to touch on, what you mentioned earlier when you that you read that presentation last week, and it's interesting to know, if you think of the landscape, people say IPO. Okay, I listened to yesterday on Bloomberg, and somebody, I don't even know what it was, is going to go an IPO for 18 million. That doesn't seem to be a lot, considering, and I don't know I can't remember what it was. It was somewhere in the States, but even the definition of what a seed. So seeds, typically you got an idea, you're hiring some people, you're building an MVP. But even Series A, you have to have, there's certain levels of what Series A, B, C, D. Yeah. And it's like, but you need then, the gamut of, you have some revenue, but not quite scaling commercial, and that's Series A. But then others like, no, you have to have IRR, or annual recurring revenue of
ARR,
X.
MRR, monthly, annual. Yeah. No, for sure. And that's kind of where, we come into play, right? This is where Backers, that I think the sweet spot is, if you have an idea and you're very early stage, you don't have an MVP, you need to get it built. You're looking to kind of see if your idea is viable, and you want to maybe just talk to 50 or 100 people, and you're really early stages. Yeah. But you're kind of caught with, I have an idea. Maybe you're the practitioner where you've got the skills, right, to build or do whatever you need to do, but maybe don't have the business side of things, or maybe you have the business side of things, but you need the technical or the practitioner to come in and actually help you build your idea. Both sides of the coin, I think those people need people to support them. And I think the environment out there, while there are great programs, we talk about New Chip, we talk about some of these others, there's great programs that kind of give surface level help. I think where Backers comes in is we will be not only the funding, right? There's an actual funding mechanism that isn't just, hey, we can introduce you to a few people. It's an actual funding mechanism that if you put in the time, effort, and energy and do the work, if your product and business is a fit, people will see it and they will want to invest.
It's incredible the amount of startups that are out there, and they think, and they know they disappear, like cricket. I'll have conversations with them because, first of all, a lot of them underestimate the magnitude of what it takes to build something, but which is fine.
Let's make that very clear. 99% of you, it's probably not easy.
No, and I'm not. So that I get. Yeah. What I do find though is a lot of startups that get the initial when they'll present and they introduce, and I say, and I'll kind of get their attention and I'll have that conversation. If I don't have a list of investors for them that are ready to go off the Rolodex, here you go. They're like, literally, I don't hear from them again. That has been the case for the last 4 to 5 years, where that initial they think because I've known investor, I've been, I must have investors for them. If I don't hear from them. Justin, the amount of people, the startups that I've had conversations with, if I don't have a list of 4 to 5 people ready to invest in their startup, I don't hear from them again.
Well, and that's the unfortunate thing. I think that's the environment that has been created around startups. They have this, they see these Sequoias and they see these Y Combinators and they see these kind of like these massive brands that have, seemingly stepped in and someone's just handed them $1 million check and said, on your way. And I think that's extremely misleading, right? It is, if you want to build something that's successful and you want to build a successful business, it's going to take a lot of hard work. And if you've still got, a lot of people start out with sort of the side business, they've got their day job and they want to do something on the side. Even that I would say is very difficult to get something off the ground and successful if you're not putting your full energy, time, effort in. And it's probably a disservice to the people that you're working with if you are in fact just showing up, clocking in the hours. But I mean, that's probably a conversation for another time, quietly quitting, as they say. But I think people misunderstand how difficult it is to start a business from scratch or to start your own enterprise. That being said, with Backers, the idea is that you can step in, we can help, we can step in with some of our guidance and guide you through the process and be a partner in that process with you and lend some, not only just knowledge or advice or consulting, which, I mean, we can talk about consulting probably for another episode as well, but actual like tangible, executable, actionable items, as well as we will actionably act on them and actually help you build if it's something. So if it's like you need help with marketing, we will be your marketing agency. If you need help building out your technology, we will help you build that app or build your website.
That's right.
Right? We will help you, as we talked about, with your accounting, bookkeeping, potentially legal. I mean, we have some third-party people that we can pass you off to that will help you with the actual work, which is hard, and a lot of people don't know where to even begin to start to understand what they need, right? It's the more you know you don't know. The more you know, the more you know you don't know, kind of thing, right? But also people that don't know anything.
That's the knowns. That's the known unknowns, and then there are the unknown unknowns.
The unknown unknowns, the unforeseeable unforeseeables, right? So it's I think that's an interesting part. So we ourselves have gone through it. I think that's, and that's where I watched that VC, they talked about like, where do VCs come from? In certain environments, 80-90% of them are not coming from the founders. So while they may espouse to know everything about what it's like to be a founder, they don't really know. And so it's really imperative, I think, for entrepreneurs to build up a network. They say your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth.
Well, I like a lot of VCs. They do come from the community. They built something or a startup, a founder, and they go and put back in.
They don't though. That's apparently what they were saying.
Okay, perhaps on en masse, but if you look at some of the smaller shops, I can come up with I could probably within an hour I could find you a few that you can see that they were a startup.
They were founded. And they took that money after they sold and they went.
Or they're VC. They're investing. I mean, come on, you see on the cap table, at least on the ones that I see that get posted. Some of the more successful startup founders, like Applyboard out of Toronto, Applyboard. I don't know if you heard of them. They're now investing in some Canadian startups. So Toby Lutke from Shopify. He's him and is it Harvey Winkelstein or whatever? They're
investing in massive deals, right? These are not the early.
No, the individuals themselves. Yeah. The individuals themselves are investing. I know they're not creating startups. I'm saying they're getting in on the cap table. So
later on, this is the thing. They're getting in later on. Anyways, well, why don't we wrap it up? Alan, appreciate you joining me, guys. We're going to do this a little more often, a little more regularly. We're going to bring on some guests. This is, again, we just kind of keep restarting. And this is the thing I think most founders need to understand. There's no starting over. Just keep on going. Keep on trucking.
So someone who's on the Backers Network right now, who can work and they can go. Give them some
obviously
details.
Go to backers.ca. You can click on Get Backers, follow the link. It'll connect with us, set up a meeting. They can go on portal.backers.ca if you want to check out some of the offerings or deals that are on there. Obviously, Vizzetto's there with their reactive suite. You've got Streakers Gaming Inc. You've got our own deal where you can invest in Backers, which, single pitch. I think I had a conversation with someone this morning. They're like, so if I invest in Backers and you basically work with all these startups and as part of your business model, take a piece of an equity of every business that you work with, then in essence, by investing in Backers, it's like investing in 1,000 startups all at once, right? It's like a fund of funds. So anyways, that's kind of it was an interesting way that they positioned it.
You mentioned Y Combinator a couple of times. The former head of Y Combinator, who is now the head of OpenAI.
Yeah.
The name is slipping me right now, but I was listening to his podcast last week, or listening to him talk. And they asked him, she's strictly VC, she asked him, how many startups, the name will come to me, the OpenAI CEO, you must know him. And he literally, so he was head of Y Combinator for the longest time. And he said, I've probably invested in 1,000 companies over
Sam Altman?
Sam Altman. So Sam Altman said over 1,000 companies. So she asked him, what are some most engaging ones? He listed a few. I should share that with him because it's incredible. The thousands, imagine having that in your head. I can imagine he could probably name at least 5, 6, you know what I mean? Like that you're in that community for 17, 18 years, as he mentioned. And I'm like, that's pretty.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Right. And Y Combinator is one of the biggest investors in a lot of early stage startups. And that's kind of the model Backers is working with. We want to help these companies. We want to be a catalyst for change. We want to be a catalyst to help drive, early stage businesses and early stage investment in early stage businesses. So, I mean, that's kind of the model for Backers. But yeah, you can check us out, backers.ca, BACKERS.ca. Or portal.backers.ca if you want to look at the deals. And there's more coming out. I mean, we can throw out Square One. There's a couple others will remain nameless. I think maybe Overs League. I'm always
spineless. Just remain spineless.
Yeah. So, but it's everything's coming out. So be sure to check it out. Any last words, Alan?
No, I think just for the for the grind, the grind. It's a grind. And it's not a 1-year journey.
It's a grind.
It's not a sprint for any. So when people reach out to us, we're going to bounce ideas, and it may not be exactly as you started, but at the end of the day, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be able to pivot. So, anyways, talk soon. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.